My name is Danny Gray. I am the Community Engagement Supervisor for Family and Community Engagement Department of Buffalo Schools. Okay, so today we'll be covering a few things. Well, some of you may or may not be familiar with what an RFPQ is, so I'm going to briefly go over that and describe what an RFPQ is and what it means for Buffalo Schools. We're going to talk about the pre-qualified community partner catalog. You may hear me refer to it as the PCPC because that's what we call it internally. I'm going to talk about the process of applying for an RFPQ, and I'm going to give you a brief overview of using Bonfire, which is our procurement portal. It's how you would submit your proposals, and then you'll be open to answer any questions that you may have. And you do not need to save your questions for the end if you have a question as we go along. I know that this process is a little bit overwhelming. It's a little bit more complicated than you may have experienced in the past. So please go ahead and ask any questions that you may have. So I am specifically working with community-based organizations. So what does that mean? That could be local businesses, that could be community organizations, that could be service providers, that could be educationally based organizations. This could be anyone who's providing a program or service for our schools. So here are the 4 types of services that your business or your organization may fall under. Family and community engagement, social emotional learning, supplemental academic enrichment, and positive youth development. Those are the 4 categories that we will, or mentorship is another way of saying that. Those are the 4 categories that we will be working with for this particular RFPQ. So for those of you who may not be familiar with an RFPQ, I'm going to just briefly talk about what it is. An RFPQ is a process where you can meet the minimum criteria for being pre-qualified to work with Buffalo Schools. So that will put you into the pre-qualified community partner catalog, which will be open to all of the district's principals and departments. This was created to allow CBOs to have supplemental programming for what already exists within our district. We would like to see programming that complements what already is happening in our schools and strengthens and supports them. If you're interested in this type of programming or in these types of, if you have this type of programming and you're interested in applying for the RFPQ, I'm going to show you where it's located in Bonfire and what it's called. It's always going to be called the Supplemental Student and Family Support Programming Programming and Services accepted between date to date. So you'll notice that if you have gone to the Buffalo Schools website, that you'll see that there's opening and closing dates. It's one continuous RFPQ, but we do have to close it for a couple of weeks in between for scoring. So you'll notice that there is one that just ended on July 4th. We are now in our scoring phase and we will score until July 19th, and then it'll be reopened again until mid-September. So they're not separate RFPQs, it's all one, but there are dates where you can submit your proposal. These will highlight services that will be provided to our existing criteria and curriculum. And so what's important about that is that we are specifically not looking for people who are trying to rewrite curriculum or introduce new curriculum. We are looking for people who are supplementing what's already existing because we already have our curricula in place. And currently Buffalo Schools is not considering online only. If it's hybrid, that's possible. In-person's possible, but we have our a wide selection of online programming already in place, and we are not interested in acquiring more at this time. That may change in the future, but at this point, that's the only thing that's not being allowed within the program qualifications. And one of the questions that I get very often is, what about my existing contract? What about my existing MOU? What about this RFP that I applied for? This RFPQ does not impact any of those things. So this is a completely separate list And if you already have a contract, you already have an RFP, you already have if you've already applied to a different RFPQ, an RFB, or any of the alphabet soup, that does not apply to this RFPQ. This is completely separate, and it would basically put you on a list that opens you up to our schools and departments. So one of the things that people that our schools and our districts or departments are looking for is alignment with what already happens in our schools, which I had mentioned. And so I'm going to just give you the links here. If it lets me copy them, give me one moment. I'm trying to copy them. Hold on a second. So I'm going to put in the comment section here some various things that links that you can go to that will help you learn more about Buffalo schools and help you align your programs to what exists within our school programming. And also, I'm going to put some more information about the purchase department's website. So if you don't know what an RFP is, or you don't know what an RFPS is, you can get that information on their site as well. And I'm also going to give you the information that I'm giving you right now can all be found on the Family and Parent Engagement website at www.buffaloschools.org/RFPQ. So I'm sending all of that through the chat right now, and those links should be hyperlinked for you. On my end, it looks like they are all hyperlinked for you. So please make sure that you take those resources and you use them when you're submitting a proposal to align your proposal to these items that I'm giving you. And I do want to also comment that in the comment section, I only have the middle school youth risk behavior survey, because currently we just migrated our, you might have noticed if you've gone on to Buffalo Schools recently, that we migrated our old system into our new web system, and some of it didn't migrate over as quickly as we wanted it to. So right now we do have the middle school youth risk survey available, and that's what I gave you. But we do not have the high school one posted at this time, but of course it will be up there soon. So if you're interested in that, you can always email me, and I will actually put my email address in the comments. So it's dgray, D-G-R-A-Y at buffaloschools.org. Okay. So before I move forward, are there any, I'm going to pause for a minute and see if there's anyone who has a question about specifically what an RFPQ is, and if your department or your organization has anything related to what I've spoken to so far. Are there any questions so far?
Looks good. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate the response. I appreciate that. All right, so now I'm going to talk about the pre-qualified community partner catalog. In the past, thank you, Samantha, for that comment. I appreciate it. In the past, we had this big, huge document called the compendium. It still exists. And that was a list of all of our current CBOs and how they work within our schools. And at the end, we had this other section of pre-qualified organizations that can work with Buffalo schools. But it was a little confusing to our outside services, and quite honestly, it was a little confusing to some people internally as well. So we decided to just separate those two documents. So the compendium still exists, and it's still a list of all the organizations that currently work with our schools. But now we have separated this other group of pre-qualified organizations into the pre-qualified community partner catalog. So that's all this is. This is a list of people who have met the minimum requirements to work with our schools. And I'm going to go into a little bit about why that's an advantage for your organization. So this lists all of the CBOs that have met the standards for pre-qualification to hold contracts with Buffalo schools. If you were to meet the minimum requirements and make it into the pre-qualified catalog, you would be in there for 2 years. It's available to all the buildings and district departments in the entire district. So there's 60 school buildings, and there's I think we're at 22 departments, but I could be wrong about that. And it will be posted and remain current on the Office of Parent and Family Engagement. Actually, you know what? We just changed our name a couple of weeks ago. It's actually FACE. family and community engagement. So it'll be on our website, and it will always be current. And that website will be www.buffaloschools.org / hold on a minute, make sure I got that right, / PCPC. So that's where you can find the updated catalog at all times. And similarly, when you put your proposal in to Bonfire, and we are in the scoring phase, so like right now, we're just about ending our scoring phase. After that scoring phase is done, if you didn't get a phone call from us, which you should have, and if you didn't get an email from Bonfire, which it should automatically be sent to you, but if you didn't get either of those things and you really need to know if you have made it into the PCPC, you can always just go to the site and look and see if your name's on there. That's one great way to check because it's always current. So the next time it will be updated will be July 20th. And then of course, as we're moving forward, it'll be on the 2 days after we're done scoring. So that's a really great resource too. And please feel free to ask questions about any of those resources. Please copy them and paste them into your own documents so that you have them. They will help you with all of your proposal needs. This may be some really basic information for people who are familiar with Buffalo Schools, but some organizations who are new to Buffalo Schools or new to working with the school system, I should say, not new to Buffalo, but new to our school system, didn't understand how some of the structures work. So if you go to buffaloschools.org, it actually, like, if you click on the schools, like at the top, there's a schools tab, it'll list all the schools. And so that's the best way to figure out what schools you may or may not want to work with, or what types of schools you'll want to work with. Because one of the questions in the RFPQ is, what types of schools do you want to work with? And you can select all, you can select grade school, middle school, early education, whatever it may be. But I think it's important to know how our schools are made up across the district. So most of our elementary schools, not all of them, but most of them are pre-K to 8. Our high schools are 9 to 12, and there are some exceptions. So we do have, I think, 3 early education facilities in our district, and they typically go from pre-K to 2. There is one right now that's pre-K to 4. School 32 has a pre-K 3, so we have 3-year-olds, and they're so adorable. And that's the only school right now that offers pre-K 3, but that will be expanding as well. The rest are all pre-K 4. School 84 goes all the way from pre-K 4 all the way to 12th grade. That is a special needs school, so they have a really special program in there. And there are some test-in schools that specialize on specific things. So, and typically they go from grades 5 to 12. And when a school goes from pre-K to 8, we still have a middle school, and that's usually the 7th and 8th grade. However, when it's a specialized school that goes 5 to 12, they think of the middle school as 5 to 8. And I know that's a little confusing, but there's only a few exceptions. Most of the schools run the same way, where it's pre-K to 8, where the middle school 7 and 8, and then 9 through 12 for the high school. And of course, if you have any questions about that, feel free to email me or call. Okay. So now we're going to talk a little bit about the proposal process. I know that some organizations are extremely new to writing proposals, and that's actually a question that I get commonly is, you know, what is a good proposal? I've never done one of these. What do I do? So if you have developed a proposal before, this may be all review for you, but I think this will benefit everybody, even if you're experienced proposal writers, because I'm going to get into more specifics of what Buffalo is looking for. So when you're developing a proposal, the basics are that you're going to tell us what your program offers. Why is your program wonderful? And why does it need to be in Buffalo schools? Please include contact information. I know that this seems so simple, but you wouldn't believe the amount of proposals that don't have contact information, and then we have no way of getting a hold of that organization to work with them. So please make sure your contact information is. Describe your deliverables. So we would really like to see your benchmarks and your goals and how you want to reach your goals. So those are the benchmarks, right? Like how you're going to reach your goals. And provide a sample of your invoice and potential programming costs. This is really important, and this is new. So most proposals don't involve programming costs, or most RFPQs don't involve programming costs. But in this particular example, or this particular type of proposal, we are looking for someone who, or we're looking for organizations to give us a sample. Now, I will go into more detail on this a little bit later, but that sample, you're not going to be tied to that cost, but that is going to give the schools an idea of what the cost is. So that's really important that you include in there, and that will help you because it'll make it so that you don't have to go through this additional system that we have. When you submit your information in your proposal in Bonfire, it's really important that you make sure that everything is accurate before you press submit. It's one of the biggest mistakes that I've seen so far, is that people will press submit but then think they can go back and edit it, and you can't. So once you press submit, you're done, and I can't change it, so it's all automated. So please just make sure all your documentation is uploaded and you're ready to go before you press submit. And you'll receive notifications. So you should receive an automated notification saying that your proposal has been uploaded. You should receive an automated notification that shows that we're done scoring and that you can check the PCPC. And you also should receive a phone call from us. If you don't receive any of those things, again, you can just check the PCPC and make sure that you're in there. And you can always call me. I'm happy to answer any questions to the best of my knowledge, so that you have other resources other than these automated notifications that you'll get. All right, I would like to go, one of the things that I've been asked to add is an exemplar proposal example. So I would like to go over that. Are there any questions before I discuss the exemplar? And again, if you have questions, just unmute and go ahead and ask them. You do not need to raise your hand. So I'm going to just review this proposal really quick. Now, what I did is, instead of creating an exemplar proposal this time, I'm just giving you some highlighted, like, this is what you should include. Let me make this bigger for you. So again, you should have a cover sheet that has hopefully your logo or your company name, your name of contact, name of your company, the address, contact number, email, right? So we're looking for an actual cover sheet with that, but it's good to include it on the actual proposal as well. Then you might want to give us a little introduction about your company name and your program's name. But here's where we get into the real meat and potatoes of what we're looking for. So first, we would like a program summary where you are giving a brief overview of what your program is. Then you'll want to give us some background information, and really it's up to you what you want to include, but I will tell you that there are no tricks to how we're scoring our proposals. And what I mean by that is, if we're asking you a question in the documents that we ask you to submit, it's because we are scoring you on that answer, and we are looking for, like, we're not trying to trick you. We are looking for evidence-based answers. So for example, if we're asking you about your diversity, equity, and inclusion policies, we're looking for samples that show that you have this quality policy, not just that you have one, but what is it? What does it include? How have you employed it into your program? So giving examples and giving data and research is the best way to score highly on our proposal scoring. So on our background information, you might want to add highlight data that shows an increase in your results, like how have you improved overall school goals. Now, some of the organizations that are here may be new, and you may not have worked with schools before. Then give us some research that shows why what you're doing is going to work in our schools. Maybe name some awards or recognitions that your company has gained over the years. Show your organization, like, your history, your relationship to Buffalo, how you'll work really well with Buffalo schools and our students and our families. Like, why, basically, why would we pick you to work with our schools and our students and our families? Showcase your key concepts. Tell us what your target audience is. Some organizations may not want to work with all 60 schools. That's fine. So who's your target audience? Are you only targeting families in need, students, specific types of students? Like, we have some programs that are specifically for middle school students or specifically for boys. So if that's the case, then tell us specifically who your target audience is. And then again, you might want to add some research that backs up what your program, why your program will be successful with us. Now, these aren't required. These are just suggestions. For your program, oops, sorry. Let's go back up there. For your program objectives, we're looking for what are your key elements in your design? Like what is it that is going to show us that you're making progress in being successful with our students and our families? Show evidence that your program or your organization has reached these goals or benchmarks in the past. Or if you're new, if it's a new organization, show us research that supports why you chose these benchmarks and targets and goals. Show evidence or specific details outlining your diversity, equity, and inclusion programming and policy. That's really important. It's actually something that we're going to be looking for in all of our programming. We have a whole department dedicated just to DEI. So that's something that you'll really want to highlight when you're talking about anything to do with your program. Describe and show evidence or research that supports your programs and how they align to Buffalo's strategic plan. Now, I'm going to give you many different, or I already gave you many different resources of things that you can try to align your programs to, but the strategic plan is probably the most important. That is outlining everything that every school in our district is looking for. It is what the superintendent has approved as the most important things that should be going into our schools. So the strategic plan is really important. And if you don't look at any other document, please make sure you look at the strategic plan. And then we would like a timeline of your deliverables. Oops, sorry, I'm trying to make it easier for you to see, but I don't think it's helping. Here, let's try that. So you'll show your projected timeline. How will you deliver your services? Or if there's more than one way to deliver your services, then show that. Like maybe some schools you will work with for a month, maybe some schools you can do just 1 or 2 events. Maybe your program is an all-year program. Then give us different timelines then, but show us how you want to be in the school. So what is your ideal projected timeline of working with schools? And again, on your timeline, you'll want to put your benchmarks. When do you plan on reaching the benchmarks and when do you plan on reaching your goals? And then also one of the things it's important, and I highly recommend that you put in your proposal, is how you're going to monitor these benchmarks and your goals of your program. All right. And I do recommend having a whole section that just answers questions about your monitoring and evaluating. This is not required, but again, this is something that I highly recommend you put in your proposal because it will help us find evidence that will help pre-qualify you to work with their schools. So what data are you collecting? What outcomes are you looking for at each benchmark? What is the purpose of the method that you're evaluating? How is the evaluation of your program going to show that you will be successful with our students? And then finally, sampling your invoice. What we're looking for is the cost per unit, the frequency, and the type. Your organization may not fall squarely into that. Maybe you have a flat fee. And if that's the case, then put your flat fee in there and explain what's included with that flat fee. And I want to just really emphasize that this is just a sample. It isn't until the schools or departments want to procure your services that they'll ask you for a quote. You are held to your quote. You're not going to be held to the sample. This is just a sample to give schools an idea of what the cost may be. Okay. So that's what I have so far for writing proposals and what Buffalo specifically is looking for in our proposals for the RFPQ. Are there any questions about that before I move forward? I just gave you a whole lot of information.
Yes, I've got a question.
Go ahead.
So you said you're not held to your sample, but you are held to your quote. So once let's say if we got approved, then someone would ask us for a price quote. Is that what you're saying would happen?
So what happens is once you're in the catalog, your name, your organization, and your proposal will go into that catalog. And again, I encourage you to go look at it. I put it in the comment section. So what happens with that is if the school says, hey, I really love what this program is doing, I want to add them to our school, they'll look at the sample of what your cost is and decide if they can put that into their budget. And then they will do their internal work of putting in their, going through our invoicing system and creating a contract, but they will go to you, the organization, and say, please give me a quote. once you give them a quote, the schools cannot negotiate with you, and the schools are not supposed to be negotiating at all. The schools and programs that are, or the schools and departments that are obtaining your services are not to negotiate with you. So you'll give them a quote and they'll either decide whether they want it or don't want it. And if they do want it, they'll move forward with contracts. And then once it goes to purchase, you may hear from the purchase department, because if they see something that maybe there's a detail in there that was not discussed, or something that they have questions about, or maybe they're like, oh, this is for 400 students, but there's 500 kids in the school. Are we adjusting that? They may negotiate with you in that way. But for the most part, once you give the quote, that's the quote. And there's not, and the biggest emphasis here is that there's not a negotiation with the principal, and there's not a negotiation with the departments. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you very much.
All right, you're welcome. Like I said, this is very different than what many companies and organizations are used to with Buffalo schools. So I tried to really streamline this so that, and one of the streamlined things with this whole system is that in the past, even if you had an RFPQ and you were pre-qualified for something, you still had to go through a bidding process of similar organizations. You had to fill out what's called an RFP. And then the services could be procured. But the problem is that just takes a long time. And we wanted to really eliminate that. And we're eliminating that by giving us a sample of costs. So we are skipping that bidding process. The only way that there'll be an extra step in here is if the overall services that you're providing total more than 20,000, because then it has to go to the board. And that's policy, like there's no way around that. So if your overall services are going to be a total of 20,000 or more, there will be an extra step in there. But we're really trying to streamline this to make it easier for schools to get their services and for services to provide them for our students. And we really want our Buffalo homegrown organizations working with our families and students. Any questions before I move forward?
Yes, are we able to get a copy of this exemplar proposal structure, or?
Absolutely. So I had mentioned earlier in this meeting that we migrated our old website to our new website. And there's been a few access issues. And so I'm working to get that put on there, but it will be put on, I'm hoping within the next week. But yeah, you're always welcome to it. And if you want to email me, I can send you the document that I showed you on the screen. That's fine. So, and then I also recommend going through the PCPC and looking at some of the proposals that were pre-qualified. That'll give you an idea, especially the bigger organizations. They tend to have a lot more information in there because they've been in schools for a while. So maybe look through other people's proposals and see what they have included as well. But yeah, I'm happy to give that to you. Just go ahead and email me and I will make sure that that's sent out to you. Or you can wait for it to be posted on the website, but I don't know when that's going to be. Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Right. Welcome. Okay. All right. So I'm really excited because the superintendent is really excited about this process. And what ended up happening is she put it right on the opening page. So when you go to buffaloschools.org, you can go up to the top and click RFPQ, and it goes right to the procurement portal. So the bonfire procurement portal is where you'll actually submit your proposal, and you can go straight there if you already have an account. If you want more information about Student and Family Services RFPQ, you can go to that button right there. And if you want to see the catalog, you can go to that button right there. So it's interesting because before it was harder to navigate right to the RFPQ, but now you can go right to the bonfire procurement portal and click right on it. Does the RFPQ apply to publishers who have content to share? I probably need some more information. Miss Weintraub, are you talking about is this a program that will work with students or families? Or is this something that you have published and you want to have the district purchase your published items?
So it would be like we have a mentorship program where it provides, so it's on the supplemental side. So it's like books and materials for mentors to come in and read to the kids. Or
Oh,
we have parent workshops where, again, on a supplemental level. So
Yep.
just wondering, would that apply?
yeah, yeah. That's exactly the kind of thing that would apply to this.
Great.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Thanks for the question. Okay, so I will give a brief, so I'm gonna play this video in a second. I'm gonna just skip to the next thing really quick. So if you already have an account with Bonfire, the way that you find the supplemental student and family support programs for this RFPQ is you just go to the title and then you click open or view opportunity. And then that's where you'll get all the documents that you need. But many people do not have this account already. And so I'm gonna just show you a brief video here that is made by Bonfire that will show you how to do this. And if you have any questions about Bonfire itself, you'll want to talk to people in the purchase department, and I will put that in the chat as soon as I start the video. So you can, it's the person that you'll want to talk to about Bonfire if you have any questions about Bonfire.
Cookies. And also, please ensure to use a desktop or non-mobile device. These are in place to ensure a secure and stable end user experience. Let's begin our demonstration, and we will start on the procurement portal homepage. Every client has their own portal with a unique URL, which you may have received from the purchasing organization directly. As well, every portal may have different options. However, every organization should have an Open Public Opportunities tab. By default, either the Login tab or the Open Public Opportunities tab should open whenever you come to an organization's Bonfire portal. Within the Public Opportunities tab, you can click on View Opportunity for any one opportunity to view more information. However, before you can actually download any documentation or make a submission, you need a Bonfire account. You will want to head over to the Login tab. As you can see, existing users can log in with their email and password, and if they require a password reset, they can use the Forgot Your Password feature. But if you're new to Bonfire and do not have a password yet, you can click the link under the new vendor registration heading to create a free vendor account. You'll be required to complete your organization's name, first and last name, input your email, input it again one more time for verification, and then click Create Account. At this point, you'll be redirected to a confirmation page and asked to check your email inbox. You should have received an email with a subject line, "You've signed up to be a Bonfire vendor and need to finish registering." If you do not receive this email within 5 minutes and you've checked that it's not in your spam folder, reach out to our Bonfire support team and we can look into this for you. Otherwise, click the button within the email to proceed called Complete Your Registration. You'll then be able to adjust your name if needed and enter in the password you wish to use. There are some things to note when creating your password. These are some helpful tips when creating your password. Ensure that your password is a minimum of 10 characters. Try to incorporate a mixture of the following: uppercase and lowercase letters, special characters, and numbers. Avoid reusing your password across multiple logins. If the password you are thinking of creating is currently a password on a different application or website, please create a new one for Bonfire. Also avoid using a series of the same characters, for example, A, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or multiple repeated characters or patterns, such as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And finally, avoid using popular words from TV or movies or other popular media or other common patterns like dates. After you have entered information into all the fields, click Create Account. This will officially kick off the account registration process. In step 1, you will need to check the box to acknowledge that you agree to Bonfire's privacy policy and terms of service. You can click on the links to view the full agreements. Then click the button to save and continue to step 2, account information. In step 2, you can fill out your account information. This is the information that the purchasing organization will keep on file for you. Required fields will be marked with a red star. You may also be asked to choose a vendor type, and you do have the ability to select multiple options here. There may also be other additional information to complete depending on what the purchasing organization has set up. To move to the next step, simply click Save and continue to step 3, documentation. In step 3, the purchasing organization may request certain documents to be added as part of your vendor record, such as specific certifications or insurance documents. If this is the case, you can select Upload File and locate the file saved to your computer. Sometimes there may be a download icon, and the organization has provided a template for you to download first, to fill out, and then use that as your file to upload. And also note that the file can be no larger than 1,000 megabytes, and you will only be required to upload any of the documents that are marked required. The yellow toggles are optional, and also take note of the file type that you are allowed to upload. Finally, step 4 allows you to add commodity codes to your profile, which tell the purchasing organization what goods and services you offer. This step may or may not be optional depending on the purchasing organization's settings. You can also use these to set up personal email alerts for any relevant opportunities. For more information, see our quick guide to commodity codes in our vendor knowledge base. If you are choosing to receive email notifications of new opportunities in your region that match your commodity codes, you will want to select this option. After checking off the box to notify for opportunities that match your commodity codes, you will want to specify a region. Specifying a service region lets Bonfire know where you deliver services, and Bonfire will use this information in conjunction with the commodity codes to match you to bid opportunities. If you select either Canada or the United States, you'll then be able to select specific subregions. For example, choosing the US will enable a selection of specific states, and you can select multiple subregions if you do work in multiple states. If you do not select a subregion, for example, if you just leave it at the United States, you will then in turn choose all of the states within the US. And that concludes the registration process. Hit Continue to Registration to complete, and then continue to Bonfire. You are now fully signed up as a vendor. Now that you're logged into your vendor account, navigate to your Open Public Opportunities tab and open the opportunity that you wish to view by clicking View Opportunity. At the top of the page, you'll see some information about the project, such as project name, project type, the open and close date, and other information such as events or details that are relevant to the project. You'll also be able to access the supporting documentation now by downloading it, and the supporting documentation will include all files relevant to the opportunity that you need to complete as part of your submission. These could include specifications, forms to fill out, and the proposal information itself. Below that, you can find a list of requested information, which gives you an idea of exactly what you are going to be asked to submit as part of your proposal. This may include certain forms from the supporting documentation section. It could also include answers to specific questions that the organization may be asking, and there may be Bonfire questionnaires or bid table templates for you to download and fill out. Under the Messages heading, you can view any.
I want to just pause there for a minute. I know that watching videos may not be your most favorite thing in meetings, but she explains it way better than I could without any interruptions. So I thought the video was actually pretty exemplar of like what you're supposed to do compared to what I was trying to explain earlier. But one of the things that I wanted to point out is that she says she's talking about required forms. There will be 3 required forms. One is a form that the purchase department has added that'll include your certificate information and things like that. The second one's going to be some general questions just to give schools an idea of your general information, like what kind of schools you want to work with and what your organization categories you fall under and things like that. And then the third is going to be specific to the category that you pick. It's a third questionnaire that's going to be specific to the category you pick. So those 3 are going to be your required documents. And then you'll also be required to submit a proposal. We will take that proposal and put it into the PCPC catalog, which everyone will be able to see so they know what services to contact you for. So you will have 4 required documents, and then there will be a whole number of optional documents that you can also submit. I want to make it very clear though, we start our scoring from the questionnaire. So from the category questionnaire. So please make sure that you have all your really important information in the questionnaire. And then if you want to refer out to your proposal, please mark that in the questionnaire. So you'll answer the question in the questionnaire. It's actually in an Excel format. And then in that questionnaire, you'll say something along the lines of like, see proposal for more information on this or whatever. The good news is that you can copy and paste right from your proposal if you would like to, if you want to make sure that information is not missed. And there isn't a limit on how many characters you can use. So you can put as much information in that box as you want to. Like I said, evidence is the best way to be pre-qualified.
Any public notices posted by the project owner. Depending on the settings of the purchasing organization, you may also be able to engage in Bonfire's vendor discussions feature, which allows you to exchange private messages with the project owner. The last section of the opportunity is the submission section. Some organizations may have a feature turned on called intent to bid. If this is the case, you will need to submit your intent to bid by a specific date set by the organization before you can actually submit to the opportunity. If you wish to bid, simply click yes, and then you'll have access to begin your submission. However, if you do not want to bid, select no, and you'll be asked to provide a reason why. Regardless of your response, you'll have the option to change your decision up to the intent to bid due date by coming back to the submission section of this opportunity page. Once you are ready to start, click on Prepare Your Submission, and you will be directed to a new page where you can submit all the requested aspects of your response. Depending on the structure set up by the purchasing organization, you'll usually be asked to upload a document. You can do so by clicking on Upload File and choosing the file from your computer and clicking Open. You'll also notice here that the red toggle on the left-hand side has now turned green, and you do have a green check mark, and you can tell then this has been successfully uploaded. Also take note that the document may be a required file type, and you may be restricted to the number of files that you are allowed to upload to this document slot. Continue uploading all of your information as required for the requested information. If you come across a question, simply need to answer. In this case, how many years have you been in business? And click Save to make that red toggle go green. Once all required parts of your submission have been supplied, you should be able to check off the acknowledgement under Step 2 and then click the Submit and Finalize My Submission button. Note that you cannot unsubmit your bid once the close date of the opportunity has passed. You should then be redirected to a submission receipt page, which will also be emailed to you. You know then that your submission has been received. If you wish, you can download a copy of your uploaded submission from this page as well. From here, we can click on Return to Portal Listing. If you did not complete your submission entirely the first time, but plan to come back and finish submitting before the deadline, you can navigate to the Submissions tab at the top of your page and view your work in progress submissions. It will save anything that you have already submitted and allow you to continue your submission as long as the opportunity is still available. You can also view your completed submissions and ones that you may have missed with the Missed tab. If you'd like to update your profile information, you can do so by clicking on the arrow next to your name in the upper right-hand corner of your screen, which opens a drop-down menu.
Thank you for sitting through that. If you have any questions about Bonfire in the procurement portal, again, Jen Latempio, the director of purchase, she is the person that would be able to either give you your answer that you're looking for or direct you to the person that can help you. There are many people in that department that work with Bonfire. But the reason I include it in this is because some people who are in my meetings have never worked with Buffalo Schools and have never seen Bonfire as a procurement portal. So that video, I actually copied and pasted the information into my PowerPoint. And so what I'm going to do now is send it to you so that if you want to watch it on your own, and actually it's a really great resource, and it has like all these other articles that will help you with Bonfire. Let me just make sure that I have the right information in here. There we go. Okay, and then again, I'm putting Jen's information in there from Ms. Latempio's information from purchasing department. So this is the link to the video that I just watched, or that you just watched, but also you can access it for any other question you might have. And they do a good job of explaining how to use their portal. So I had already showed you this site, but basically you're going to specifically look for supplemental student and family support programs and services, accepting proposals date to date. That's what we're calling all of our RFPQ sessions. And we're trying to make it very clear of the opening and closing part of the date. So once you've done that and you've clicked submit, congratulations, you've just submitted your proposal to Buffalo Schools. So the one last thing I just wanted to talk about before we move on is what this allows you to do and what it does not allow you to do. So what are your next steps? This is the question I get most commonly from CBOs, especially in these meetings. So, okay, I made it into the PCPC, now what? So now you can build your relationships with schools and departments. That is going to be something that I highly encourage, that you attend our events, you go to BPS events, you table at them, you present your programming to people that you think you might align properly with what your program offers. Show off your program, show us what you can do. There are many different events that Buffalo Schools we just had one recently. It was called the Parent Summit. It was awesome. Thousands of parents showed up. So that's a great event maybe to look forward to throughout the year. We have lots of family events that might be good for you to showcase your programs and your skills. And then also, try to build those relationships with the principals and departments. So that's what your next steps are. Our next steps are to post the information and have the schools look through them. So what does this pre-qualification do for you? Well, first of all, it allows you to skip some of the steps in our procurement process. It pre-qualifies your organization to offer services to schools and departments without the additional RFP step. It provides schools and departments with quotes of your service. So this allows them to go directly to you, which in the past they were not allowed to do. And it provides schools and departments with a trusted and exclusive list of services that can be used under many programs. And this does include our community school programming. So community schools will use the PCPC to procure their services. So you'll want to be in that, because we have 36 schools that are community schools in our district and use community school funding. So right off the bat, that's one of the biggest advantages of this catalog. What this pre-qualification does not do is it does not guarantee you a contract, and it does not allow negotiations. So we are not promising a contract. We're just saying that you're pre-qualified to have a contract. And we do not want vendors trying to negotiate with our principals. They're not allowed to do that. It's against our policies. So that's the RFPQ in a nutshell. And if you have any questions, now is a great time to ask those questions. And also, if you don't want to ask them over Zoom, you can certainly call or email me. I gave you my email address already, but my phone number is 816-3201. You can call at any time. And if I'm not here, just leave a message and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. 816-3201. I'm going to hang out until you guys are all set. So if you have questions, go ahead and unmute yourself and go ahead and ask.